Our movie starts with an intriguing text that reveals the groundbreaking discovery by NASA that alien life exists within our solar system. And the text goes on to explain how a space probe was launched to investigate this astonishing discovery, but the probe crashed during re-entry into Mexico, and as a result, half of Mexico was quarantined and labeled as an infected zone. And the text also highlights the current scenario where the United States and the Mexican militaries are battling to contain the creatures. And these creatures are believed to be a result of alien life, and they've been wreaking havoc inside the infected zone for a while now, and they pose a severe threat to both countries. And the movie's first scene opens with a US Army patrol driving through a desert town in the middle of the night. And as the soldiers on board engage in friendly chatter, suddenly there's a massive explosion on one of the vehicles and chaos ensues. And the soldiers start firing their weapons frantically at the enormous octopus-like creature that's attacked their patrol. And the scene is very tense, and the audience can feel the soldiers' fear and desperation as they fight for their lives. And one of the soldiers quickly radios for backup and obtains approval for an airstrike, and the soldiers' quick thinking and the military's swift response is the only hope to eliminate the creature to save the patrol. And moments later, a jet arrives and an explosive missile strikes the creature's head. And the next scene opens with Andrew, an American photojournalist, standing amidst the aftermath of the missile strike. And concerned about the collateral damage caused, he inquires with the locals about where the affected people have been taken. And his search for answers leads him to the hospital in San Jose in Central America, where he hopes to find someone called Samantha. And upon finding her, he introduces himself as a representative of her father's publication, and he assures her of his mission to ensure her safety. Andrew then walks out of the hospital to make a phone call, and although initially disinterested in accompanying her, he finds himself reluctantly agreeing to take her to the coast when Pierce, his colleague, asks him to do so over the phone. And as they make their journey to the coast to catch a boat to the United States, Andrew captures photographs of destroyed buildings and landscapes, while Sam engages in conversation with their taxi driver, seeking his thoughts on the ongoing events. And eventually arriving at the port, Sam talks to her father on the phone while Andrew purchases their train tickets. And Mr. Winden, Sam's father, also speaks to Andrew, imploring him to keep his daughter out of harm's way. And with the promise made, Andrew and Sam board the train and they begin their journey towards a safer future. And as they board the train, Andrew and Sam find themselves seated next to each other, and after a brief exchange, Andrew shares that he takes photos of the scenery for her father's publication's front page. And as they continue their journey, Sam falls asleep while Andrew continues to capture the passing landscapes. But their journey is disrupted because of the destroyed railway, forcing them to disembark from the train. And in search of shelter for the night, they come across a nearby house and decide to stay there. And during their conversation with the owner, they discover that the military will be soon closing the coastline for 6 months, and with air and sea travel also being prohibited within 48 hours. And the realization of the time constraint adds urgency to their mission, and the pair must now find a way to reach the coast and secure a passage to the US. And the next morning, Andrew steps out to take pictures of the neighborhood children wearing masks, and Sam says her goodbye to a local girl who gave her supplies for their journey. And because they had a very tight time frame, they embark on their journey to reach the coast. And they catch a ride to a nearby village where a bus is scheduled to leave for the coast. And before they board the bus, Andrew takes some pictures of local children, which makes Sam a little uneasy. And she asks him if profiting from something bad that happened makes him feel bad. And he tells her that her father's company pays $50,000 for a single photo of a child killed by the creature. And he also tells her that he has to make a living, so he's just doing what he's supposed to do. And as they arrive at the port, they're informed that the ferry tickets for the day are sold out, and the next one leaves at 7 o'clock the following morning. And despite Andrew's attempts to negotiate, he was unable to lower the price, and he ends up spending about $5,000 on a ferry ticket for Samantha to return home. Her father better reimburse him. I think he will. But he was really reluctant to spend that much. Afterwards, they spend the night together in Sam's room, and Andrew takes advantage of the opportunity to call his son, and he leaves him a voice message wishing him a happy birthday since he won't be able to call the next day. And although Sam inquires about the call, Andrew lies to her about it because he just doesn't want to talk about his family. And later, they attend a festival enjoying drinks and each other's company, but the mood shifts when they visit a memorial graveyard for the creature's attack victims. And there were a lot of victims. And Andrew takes photos while Sam observes, and the experience takes an emotional toll on both of them, leading them to leave and continue their conversation over drinks. And eventually, Andrew takes Sam to her doorstep and he directly asks if he can spend the night with her. And she politely declines, and feeling very disappointed, Andrew resorts to heavy drinking while Sam tries to contact John, but she only gets his voicemail. And Andrew gets drunk enough and he ends up sleeping with some random girl. And the next morning, Samantha awakens and decides to offer Andrew a cup of coffee, but before she leaves, she walks into his room and she invites him to join her. And he agrees, and as he was putting on some pants, Sam notices the lady's foot on his bed, and she gets very shocked and she quickly leaves Andrew's room. And Andrew catches up to Samantha as she attempts to board the ferry, but unfortunately she's unable to do so because she realizes that she forgot her passport. And Andrew heads back to his room to retrieve it, but to his horror, he discovers that both of their passports have been stolen by the girl he met the night before. Yeah, that's why you don't sleep with random people you just met, buddy. Especially if there's like an alien apocalypse going on. Don't do that. And with the ferry already departed, their only viable option to reach America within a reasonable time frame is to journey through the treacherous infected zone. But they face a dilemma at the checkpoint as they don't have the $10,000 necessary for that journey. And to make matters worse, Andrew's camera is deemed worthless by the smuggler, and Samantha's engagement ring was the only viable item that they had left. And she had no choice but to hand it over to pay for the crew and the necessary stuff that they need to cross the checkpoint. And the journey begins as they hop on a pickup truck and they arrive at a port where their bribed soldier Victor helps them pass through and obtain a pass ticket. And the next leg of their journey involves a small boat ride across a river, or down a river. Yeah. And as they sail, Andrew captures photos of the surroundings despite the distractions. And at one point, they stop to collect containers of gas and they hear strange noises, but they decide to continue on. And during their journey, Sam inquires about Andrew's son and he opens up about how Katie, his son's mother, prevented him from being a father. And they continue chatting and their boat's engine all of a sudden shuts down. And despite their best efforts to fix the engine, they're forced to spend the night stranded in the middle of the river. And as the night progresses, they witness a bizarre occurrence, a military jet being dragged down by one of the creatures. But before they can process what they just saw, their engine miraculously restarts and they quickly sail away. And the next morning, they stop by the coast and continue their journey on land, accompanied by armed guards. And as the night falls, they sit around the fire and have dinner, and Andrew is briefed that they are just 2 hours away from the wall and they're very close to the US. And the guards start sharing stories about the creatures that they've encountered, describing them as gigantic, over 100 meters in size, and they reveal that the creatures become aggressive when American planes arrive, and they don't really bother anyone unless they're provoked. And Andrew checks on Sam's hand that's broken and bandaged, and she thanks him and he apologizes for his drunken behavior the night before. And they continue to talk some more. But a monster suddenly attacks the group, and the crew quickly flees, but the monster blocks their path and attacks the other cars. And miraculously, only Sam and Andrew's car is spared, and they huddle together as the creature wreaks havoc. And finally, the creature leaves, and the pair manage to escape. And the morning after the attack, Andrew steps out of the car to survey his surroundings, and he observes numerous victims of last night's attack. And in a departure from his usual routine of taking photos, he takes a couple of gas masks from the dead bodies and covers a dead child's body with his jacket. And Sam watches him as he does this. And the pair then continue their journey on foot through the grasslands and forests until Sam requests a bathroom break. And after Sam was done with her business, they spot this palace and they decide to investigate. And to their surprise, they discover that it's a wall that separates America from the outside world. And while gazing at America from the wall's exterior, they have a very emotional conversation about their journey. And they spend the night at the palace, and in the morning, they wake up early and resume their journey on foot. And eventually they arrive at a massive border wall that separates the infected zone from the United States. And at the checkpoint, they realize that the entire Texas region has been evacuated because the aliens have advanced deep into the US. And as they continue on their path, they come across a lifeless monster lying in their way. And while gazing up at the military fighter jet soaring ahead, they notice a flicker of light in the distance. And they decide to follow this flicker of light. And upon arriving, they discover that it's an abandoned gas station. and Andrew promptly calls 911, who inform him that the Army Rescue Patrol is in the vicinity. And as the night falls, Andrew and Samantha reach their phones and they both call their respective families separately. Andrew steps outside the store and he dials his son's number, while Samantha enters the store and she speaks to her father. And both of them reconcile with their loved ones in a very emotional embrace. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a monstrous creature charges towards the gas station and it sticks one of its, tentacles? Should I say tentacles or leg or hand? I mean, whatever you want to call this thing. It sticks it inside the store and it starts absorbing the power from the TV. And Sam, as she's hiding, quickly unplugs the TV and the monster withdraws its foot or tentacle, if you will. And as the two were outside watching in disbelief, it turns out that there are two aliens and they're communicating with each other in a non-threatening way. And it kind of seems like a very intimate kind of communication. And as they stand next to these aliens, Andrew and Samantha are completely mesmerized by the surreal scene unfolding before them. And in a hushed voice, Samantha whispers to Andrew, expressing her reluctance to leave him. And in a moment of intense emotion, they share a lingering kiss, but that's abruptly interrupted by the army. And the soldiers quickly bundle Andrew and Sam into separate cars, informing them that they can't stay in this area. And as they drive away, we understand that this scene loops back to the opening scene with an army patrol driving along the abandoned road at night. And that is how our movie comes to its conclusion. I really enjoyed watching this one for you guys. Remember to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.